Following breaking news out of the Chicago area, Homeland Security officials say an ICE operation left an enforcement officer severely injured and the target of a traffic stop dead. Let's go to CNN senior crime and justice correspondent Shimon Prokupecz. Shimon, what are you learning about this incident?
Yeah, so Boris, we just got here a short time ago. This happened several hours ago, but the information is just now coming out about what exactly happened here. And all of the information I should point out that we have right now is coming from the Department of Homeland Security. We're in the Franklin Park suburb of Chicago, about 15 miles outside of Chicago. And what we have learned from the Department of Homeland Security is that they were targeting an individual as part of their enforcement action here in the Chicago area. They've been surging ICE officers into this neighborhood for enforcement action, and that this individual was targeted as part of that enforcement action, and that when ICE officers attempted to stop this individual, attempted to detain this individual, he was in his car. They did a car stop, and what they say is then that the driver dragged one of the officers in essentially an effort to evade the ICE officers. What they tell us is that this was a vehicle stop, that the individual resisted arrest, striking an officer, and then the Department of Homeland Security says that one of the ICE officers was dragged during that time, and that is when this individual was shot by an ICE officer. That individual has died at a local hospital. The ICE officer also suffered injuries. He too is being treated at a local hospital. I just want to get out of the way here, Boris, for a second so I could show you the scene here. Lionel is going to show you here. That gray car you see there, that is the vehicle we believe the man who ICE and the Department of Homeland Security has identified as Silverio Villegas Gonzalez was in when the ICE officers tried to stop him and pull him over.
I predicted that this was going to happen. I said it. And you know what's so funny about it is that when I first got this story, the person that sent it to me in my email, the first person that sent it to me, they said, you said that this was going to happen. Literally. I might have to bring it up for y'all. But the fact of the matter is this, is that I said that it was going to be a situation where at some point, because most of these cities and the legislators, they direct the police officers to not assist ICE. They do not help them. When these people get arrested, they do not call ICE and nothing like that. And so eventually, what was going to happen is you're enabling bad behavior. They're going to run from the police. In this situation, the ICE officer was getting dragged and he had to take the person out. Now, of course, you're going to have a situation where everybody is feeling some type of way. Look at this. AD, you called it. Literally. That's the first thing that it says. Mr. AD, you called it. Watch the ICE. They said I called it. And I knew that it was going to happen. Eventually, you're going to have a situation where people is getting out of hand. And all of this is going to do, instead of, because see what Chicago officials are going to say is, oh man, this is Trump's fault. We could have prevented this. But they're not going to address the fact that he shouldn't have been here, and that's one of the reasons why you run it in the first place. They're not going to address the fact that they could have prevented this by being more aggressive and making sure that these people was getting deported in the first place if they wasn't supposed to be here. They're not going to say that none of these people should have been coming over the border in the first place, and we could have proactively prevented this if people had stood up instead of going straight across party lines to try to justify the fact that they going to align with the Biden administration because they wanted to continue to get that money. They wanted that ICE money. They wanted that COVID money. And it was the way that they was plugging their budget deficits and their holes, which is one of the reasons why they now going back to pre-pandemic spending. And they're now facing a 1.15 budget deficit, which we all know is going to balloon over a period of time.
And detain him. And that's when the incident unfolded. It appears that at some point this car, you'll see that there's a truck there, that car crashed into that truck, and then there was an incident that unfolded thereafter. What we don't know right now is much about the deceased. We have his name, and that's about it. The other thing that the Department of Homeland Security tells us is that this individual was being targeted because of their undocumented status, that they were here illegally, and that they have a record, a history of reckless driving.
But they still here on American soil, though, right? Chicago not going to do nothing. They passed legislation to make sure that these people can still stay on the streets. He's still driving.
Right now, we have not been able to confirm any of that information independently. This
Of
is
course you have.
information that is coming from the Department of Homeland Security. I will say to you that, as you know, and as our viewers know, Chicago area has been on a heightened sense of alert, anticipating enforcement action, preparing for enforcement action. And already here on scene, we're seeing some of the advocates, the community advocates, and from the community here. They're trying to gather information. But this is all we know right now.
Community advocates are trying to gather information on an illegal migrant that was dragging an ICE officer and wound up getting killed that already had a record of reckless driving. Got it.
At this point, and there are, as you saw behind me, there are a number of FBI agents here that are assisting in this investigation as they process.
So let's go over to the actual protesters and let's hear what they had to say.
We continue to watch breaking news here at 4:30. An ICE agent has shot and killed a man during an arrest attempt in Franklin Park. The Department of Homeland Security says Silverio Villegas Gonzalez ignored commands during a traffic stop, hit and dragged an agent with his car. Then that agent fired shots at Villegas Gonzalez. He died at the hospital. The agent is seriously hurt, but we're told they are stable. DHS says Villegas Gonzalez was in the country illegally and had a record of reckless driving. Local leaders say this all could have been prevented.
We have a deceased Franklin Park resident here today for what?
They calling this a resident.
Process would have avoided all of this.
That is not a death sentence. And that person has been denied their ability to defend themselves.
Now, hours before that,
I'm telling you, bro, these people are straight up demonic. They don't care about American citizens. They care more about people that's not even supposed to be here than they care about the actions or even the ICE officer, right? Like if I get pulled over and I start dragging a police officer, what do you think is going to happen to me? If you, white, black, Asian, Latino, Hispanic, if you pull somebody over or if you get pulled over and you start dragging an ICE officer, what do you think is going to happen to you?
We got an inside look in a ride-along with ICE agents. CBS News' Camilo Montoya Galvez was with ICE at a different Chicago area location when that shooting in Franklin Park happened. Camilo, I'm excited to hear what you saw today on this ride-along.
Hi, Marie. We embedded with ICE agents today, this morning, here in the Chicago area, the latest target of President Trump's dramatic crackdown on illegal immigration. We followed ICE deportation agents as they tried to arrest two men from Iraq and Mexico who they say are in the country illegally, but have also been convicted or charged with serious crimes, including sex offenses during the first attempted arrest.
Why would y'all want sex offenders that's not even here legally to be inside of y'all neighborhood and y'all be protesting on their behalf? Why wouldn't the police actually work with the federal government to get these people up out of there? Think about that for a minute, because there's no logical explanation why they shouldn't or wouldn't or why they can't work with the federal government to get certain people up out of there. It's no reason. It's zero explanation. Nothing. Nothing that you can say can tell me, oh yeah, this actually keeps our community and our neighbors safer. Nothing. Zero.
ICE agents found out, Marie, that they had gone to the wrong location because the target's personal information was being used by another person now living in that location. In the second attempted arrest, the ICE agents were not able to get the person to open the door. And the head of ICE's deportation branch, Marcus Charles, told us that this is because community leaders are telling immigrants not to open their doors. Let's take a listen to what else he told us.
We are targeting anybody that is here illegally with the criminal record. But that's not to say that if you are here illegally and you are with these people that we're looking for, that you're not going to be arrested.
You're saying that if your agents do in fact find somebody who is here illegally, who may not be the target, that person will still be arrested?
If they're there with our target, we will arrest them.
And Marie, despite what this top ICE official told us, there is growing concern here in the Chicago area and across the country that the Trump administration's immigration crackdown is extending well beyond the dangerous criminals.
So this is basically what it's come to. This is one of the reasons why you have so much distrust and unrest in your leaders inside of these Democrat cities. But no worries, not a big deal. It was just a man, and I got a completely separate video that's coming. It was just a man that was killed in Chicago as a barber, and he was getting robbed. It wouldn't have happened if the National Guard was there. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. Stay safe.